What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Horror. This is Ethan Horror, and welcome back to some more Walking Dead videos. Because you're gonna see a crap ton from my channel because I just finished watching all 11 seasons of the show. So that means we got a lot of things to rank, a lot of things to talk about, and we're gonna start off with just the classic season ranking. All 11 seasons ranked. Then we'll go through characters, villains, just everything else that this show has to offer. And then maybe I'll watch the spin-offs because I don't have a lot of time right now. But I'll find time and I'll probably watch them eventually. So, right now we're just talking about the main show. All 11 seasons of The Walking Dead. Ranked. Yeah, this is a lot. It took me probably a year to watch them all. I don't dislike any seasons. There is some episodes that I don't like, but no seasons that I don't like. I've never really walked out of a season and been like, man, that was terrible. I've walked out of seasons and been like, meh, but like, never that I didn't like it. I like all 11 seasons, but let's go through which ones are my favorite and which ones are not my favorite.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! This is God.
Starting off with last place, number 11. I don't really know if this is controversial. I haven't looked at any other lists of rankings. This is really just my opinion without any people telling me otherwise. So, starting off, number 11, we have Season 10. Now, The Walking Dead likes to do this thing where it's two halves of the season put together, where you could basically take the second half of Season 9 and put it with the first half of Season 10, and that would actually be a phenomenal season. But unfortunately, they take some of the weaker parts of the Whisperers and put it right at the beginning, and then they just take care of the Whisperers in like the first half of the season, and then they move on to the Commonwealth, which is another good storyline. It's just they do that with like every season, so I don't know why I'm really complaining. Except for like season 7 and 8, that's more like the all-out war storyline with Negan. That's what they pretty much do every time. You can just take half of the season before it and half of the season in front of it and make a full season. Which is what I think they should have done here with the Whisperers. Because I think, you know, if you went through and it ended on the beta stuff, like that would have been a pretty good season. But again, it's the weaker part of the Whisperer story. I think the part in Season 9 that we got is a lot better than the stuff we get in Season 10. But I do still like it. As I said, I like all the seasons. But we also get the weaker part of the Commonwealth stuff because nothing really happens with them. They just kind of get captured. Eugene, Ezekiel, Princess. Princess is a good character. She is introduced in this season, so there is some good to come out of it. But all of them and Yumiko get captured by the Commonwealth, and they basically are just held up there for like the whole time. So nothing really happens with that storyline, and it's just kind of the finishing storyline of the Whisperers. So, and by the way, there is one episode in Season 10 that I consider the worst episode of the show. I don't even remember what it's called. It's the episode where Carol struggles to make a soup for Jerry because she doesn't know what to do. The worst episode this show has ever put out. I've rearranged this list like 20 times. This season at one point was in my top 5, and now it's down to 10. So, like, that's how close these all are. Number 10 is going to be Season 8. Don't hate it. Again, like, these are I'd say, like, these bottom 4 are ones that, like, I don't love, but I don't hate. Maybe even just bottom 3. Like, I don't love them, but I don't dislike them. I would still watch them. Season 8 is the conclusion of the All Out War storyline and Negan, all of that stuff. I think it's a pretty decent season. I mean, it's kind of just a lot of filler, and then they kill Negan. Like, there's not much in between. I like, when Eugene gets captured and is forced to make bullets for them, and he kind of leans into it, and then you think that he's just full savior, but then he turns back around and saves everybody. And it kind of helps, Ezekiel. I like him. He's one of my favorite characters, and this season is part of that I absolutely love him. Decent season, but, like, nothing much happens at all. So, like, there's a lot of war, a lot of fighting, but... Coming in at number 9, going all the way back to Season 4. Now, Season 4 has one of my favorite groups of the entire series, like the central characters that are alive. Probably one of my favorite central groups between this Season 5 and 6. Like, 4, 5, and 6 have the best central groups. Otherwise, this season kind of sucks. They, for some reason, decide to not finish the Governor's storyline in Season 3 and have him bleed over into, like, 2 episodes of this season, where he gets, like, 2 solo episodes, and then he gets 1 where he actually joins up with the group and, like, fights everyone, and the whole prison thing happens, and everyone has to split up. That part is horrible. But the other part that I do like, Hershel's death, obviously, great scene. But the other part that I do like is the sickness at the prison. Where, it's a silent killer. It's killing people on the inside, and they can't stop it. It's spreading rapidly. That part, I liked all of that. And Hershel trying to save him, I liked all of that. That was probably my favorite part of the season. But then the second half of the season is literally just people walking around in the woods. Like, because everyone got separated, and then you have Glenn, and he meets up with Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene. They're great, all 3 of them, love them. And then, I think there's more, Daryl and Beth. Daryl and Beth, they focus on that one a little bit more than the others, which is good, because that's probably the other best part of the season. But, it's just, it doesn't stick to one story. It has the sickness, and then the governor jumps back in for 2 episodes. Then everyone with the sickness gets killed except for Glenn, and then everyone gets split up. And then they rejoin in Terminus for the last episode, which I think is great. And one of my favorite scenes in the entire show, when Rick bites Joe's throat out. That is hands down one of my favorite scenes. And at number 8, we are going to have Season 7. This one, I went up as far as my top 3. Before I just went, no, and dropped it all the way down. So it's at 8 now, but, like, just, again, these top 8 are close. They're all close. So you'll hear me talk really positive about the ones that are down low. I like Season 7. I think it has one of the greatest opening episodes for a show, even though they kind of, they hold it from us. They dangle it in front of our face the last time, where, they want you to come back so you can see who died, which it still leads to a absolutely phenomenal first episode. So I'm not really complaining. I mean, it's just a cliffhanger. Like, movies do that, books do that. Why can't a TV show do it? I don't know. Some people complain about it, but otherwise, yeah, great first episode. And then it is a lot of filler. There's not much actually going on. Like, there's Carl breaking into the sanctuary. And then that storyline kind of gets put down. And then there's Spencer trying to take down Rick. And then Spencer gets killed, and Olivia gets killed. Like, that whole scene, that's pretty good. Negan is a terrifying villain. Everything to do with him was pretty good. But a lot of it's just people, like, it's just the apocalypse. Like, it's basically just a documentary about the apocalypse, because it's just kind of everyone living their lives. Like, there's not much happening until they find Hilltop and they start planning to revolt. Like, there's not much. But number 7, now we're into seasons that I like pretty significantly. Number 7 is season 11, the final season of The Walking Dead. Might be the final season of the main show. It's not the final season of The Walking Dead because they already announced 3 spin-offs. 2 of them have already come out, and we're waiting on The Ones Who Live. I think that's what it's called, with Daryl, or with Rick and Michonne. Season 11's great, but you kind of, with 10 and 11, it's not the best cast of characters that we've seen on this show. We're missing Rick. Season 10 especially. I don't know why I didn't talk about that. Season 10 really throws a wrench in it because it gives you Negan and Henry. Lydia's great, but those 2 characters are not good replacements for Rick and Maggie. Probably my 2 favorite, toss up with Daryl, those 3. Probably my favorite characters in the show, and 2 of them are missing for season 10 and for season 9. So, Rick's still missing, but then we also lose Michonne for this season, who is another great character. So now we're kind of just stuck with the leftovers, like Gabriel, Aaron, Rosita, Eugene, Daryl, all great. Not really anyone else left. The new characters they introduced, like Yumiko. Yumiko's great. Magna, Connie, they're decent characters. Ezekiel, one of my favorites. It's not a bad cast of characters. I still enjoy watching them. But I don't think it's nearly as interesting as when, Rick and Maggie were in the show. Maggie is in this season. When, Rick and Michonne were in the show. And Carl. I do like the Commonwealth threat, but, then again, it kind of feels like we've already done this. Where they think this place is really safe, and it's a new community with a corrupt leader that they don't know is corrupt until halfway through. Remind you of anything? Maybe the governor? What's his place called? I don't remember where he lives. It's we've done this before, where they find a new society and turns out they're not as they seem. And this time we get an annoying character in Sebastian who we just don't want to see on screen because he's so annoying. We do get a new character introduced that's pretty good too. Max and Michael Mercer, both pretty good characters. But Pamela Milton and Sebastian Milton and Lance Hornsby, those 3 are not intimidating villains. Lance Hornsby is the most intimidating out of the 3 of them, and he's not the main villain. Pamela Milton is. She's not intimidating. I never once felt like our characters, or felt like the main characters couldn't take her out. She is the least intimidating person. The only reason she's intimidating is because she has a whole army who they can easily turn against her because she's corrupt. And this is way longer than it has to be. Walking Dead kind of has a problem with making a lot of filler episodes, and this one is a lot of filler episodes because we get 24 episodes instead of the usual 16, so that's 8 more. And it probably could have been a 16-episode season, and it probably would have been one of the best. But there is a lot of filler. The villains kind of suck. And I do like, what's her name? The girl that Daryl is with Pope. That girl. I like her. She's a good character in this. This season makes me really like Maggie and Lydia. And even more than I already did. I already like those characters. But Maggie, I think, probably went up to tied for second favorite character. And I think it's a great season, but it could use some improvements. Coming in at number 6, we're going to go with season 9. Now, this one actually impressed me. I didn't think I would like it nearly as much as I actually did. Because I knew that halfway through, and not halfway through, 4 episodes in, they get rid of Rick. Why didn't you get rid of him in the first episode? That's all I'm saying. Why would you wait till episode 4 of all means to do a full reset and a huge time jump? I would have probably either made him leave on the mid-season finale or the first episode. But they don't do that, so that's kind of a knock against it, because it's kind of like the aftermath of season 8 is the first 4 episodes, and then there's a huge time jump, and Judith is grown up, and she's a great character, and we're now dealing with the Whisperers, which is probably one of the best villains in the series. Alpha, she's great. And it leads to one of the best episodes this show has ever put out. It's episode 15, which I think it should have been the season finale. I think what should have happened is this should have been the mid-season finale, and then we take the beta stuff from the other season 10, and put that on here. But they didn't do that, and so I think at least that episode should be the season finale, because episode 16 is worthless. It's useless. It literally exists just to wrap up what happened in the last episode, which they could have just done in the episode 1 of season 10. But they didn't, and they tacked it on the end, and that episode is really dumb. But I like Lydia and Henry's relationship, but I don't really love Henry's character. I did actually really like Lydia's character. Daryl gets to take center stage because Rick is gone, and Maggie leaves. They start to make you like Negan. I'm not gonna like Negan, but I don't like him, but I'm fine with him being a character like that. Otherwise, my one other complaint is, spoiler warning, the head scene where all the heads are on the spikes. One of the most disturbing parts of the show for me. That was just so dark. But I do kind of have a few problems with it. One, well, they did kill off a bunch of main characters, which in the book, or in the comics, it was way worse. They killed off Ezekiel and Rosita, which, I was sad at the people that died in the show, but if they killed off Ezekiel and Rosita, I would have been a lot more mad. But instead, they kill off Enid, Tara, and Henry. Now, I didn't think they were going to kill off Henry. I was pretty positive Tara wasn't going to make it very far. But Enid was such a great character who kind of got sidelined, and then you don't really care about her death because it's immediately one-upped by Tara, who's a way more substantial character. I think, Enid should have got a more proper death. But, it's pretty much just disregarded. And none of the fans even remember it either because they're too worried about Tara's death. That's the one complaint I have, because I personally think Enid is a better character than Tara. But coming in at number 5. We're already in the top 5. We've only been here for 20 minutes. Top 5, number 5, Season 5. Season 5 could probably be substantially higher. If it weren't for, you have the end of Season 4 with Terminus. The last episode, everyone's trying to get to Terminus, and then the last episode, you realize all the heroes are in trouble. And then the first half of Season 5 kind of wraps that up in a pretty good way. I like the Terminus storyline. But then you are taken to Alexandria with Aaron. I don't even know if it's for all 6 of... I think it's just for 4 episodes at the end, where you're introduced to Deanna and Reg and all the other characters. You're introduced and learn to hate Nicholas and Spencer, which they do a great job at that. You're meant to love Deanna and Reg, and unfortunately he does get killed by Jesse's husband, Pete, who also gets killed. But I actually really like Jesse. I think she's a really underrated character, especially for this season. Another underrated character, Noah. I don't know why they introduced him just to die, because he was actually a pretty good character, and you seemed like he was going to make it, or at least have a little bit of a future and build the walls with Reg, but I guess Reg also dies. But I expect a little bit more of that character. Really the only complaint with this season is that episode right in the middle where Beth is at the hospital. Everything about that sucks so much. It's so terrible. I hate it so much. But it is what it is. Coming in at number 4, possibly the most controversial. Number 4. And it's not because it's really bad. It's because it's extremely good, and I had to, cut. It was like pulling fingernails with these last 4. Number 4 is going to be Season 1. Now, one little complaint. It's too short. I think it's too short. I don't think it tells a full enough story. It tells a full story, but I think it should have been a little longer. I mean, obviously, they didn't intend for it to blow up this much, but 6 episodes is pretty short. They get everything they need to say, and then they move on. Like, it's very fast. It's probably one of the most well-paced seasons, but it's only 6 episodes, and it's some of the 6 best episodes of the series. That's just why I don't have it in my top spot, because it's only 6 episodes. Like, they're 6 phenomenal episodes, but I think the stuff at the end at the CDC with Dr. Jenner kind of brings it down a little bit. So, it's season 4. Season 1 is at 4 for those reasons. Coming in at number 3, we have Season 6. The introduction of Negan. Now, again, with the Walking Dead thing, half of the season is basically the second half of the previous season. Because in the second half of Season 5, we go to Alexandria, and then the second half is them at Alexandria. So, first half of the season is them at Alexandria. But I think it's the most well done, because they tell a full story at Alexandria in the second half of Season 5, and then they tell another full story in Season 6. So, Jesse, again, underrated character. Nicholas, hate him with a passion. Glenn, this is the last season we get with him. He's great. Probably his best season. Rick, phenomenal. Michonne, this is where I start to really love that character. Same with Carl. I really started to love Carl Michonne in Season 5 and 6. And Maggie's great. Everybody in this season is great. Like, this is probably my favorite group of The Walking Dead. I mean, maybe I'd give it to Season 5, but those two, great. Like, especially with all the people at Alexandria that you love, who unfortunately die. A lot of them do. Deanna dies, Jesse, Sam, Ron, they all die. But that scene when all the walkers flood in after the wolves, and Jesse, Sam, and Ron die, that's a great scene. And then you get Carl losing his eye, which is another great scene, and then Rick going insane and just running out into all these walkers and just starts killing them, and he gives the motivation for everybody in Alexandria to just run out, and eventually they take down the entire horde. Coming in at number 2, I'm going to go with Season 2. Now, this one, again, these top 5 spots, I could not choose. They could all be number 1. They literally could all be number 1. But number 2 is going to be Season 2. I do really like this season. Again, it's 12 episodes, which I think is what I would have wanted from the original season. Just, maybe a little bit more story. But the story that they give us is perfect. I'm not complaining about it. But Season 2 does, I think, a little bit better. Because now you know these characters. There's bigger conflicts. It's not just that there are walkers hanging out everywhere. That's not, like, the only conflict. Like, Herschel's hiding walkers in the barn. Herschel doesn't know whether or not to trust the main group and keep them alive. Carl got shot by Otis. Shane is going insane and he killed Otis. And Lori's pregnant. Like, there's all these just problems going on. And I think it handles all of them perfectly. And that's pretty much what I want from this show. Just a bunch of problems that the group has to solve that aren't just, oh my god, there's more walkers everywhere. Like, Lori's pregnancy leading to Shane going insane and getting killed, and leading to the reveal that you don't need to be bit to be turned into a zombie. Like, I think Season 2 had one of the best stories out of all of them. it probably should be number one, but I'm just giving number one a little bit of an edge. And my number one, if you're using process of elimination, you know what it is. And I don't even know if this is definitively my number one. You can ask me tomorrow, and maybe season 2 is my favorite. But right now, my favorite season of The Walking Dead is season 3. Now, I love the first 3 seasons. They're probably my favorite seasons. This one, I think, is just the correlation of all of them. Like, they leave the farm. They have all these new characters that we love. Herschel, Maggie, all these new introduced characters. And then we get to this prison. They think everything's alright. They meet the prisoners. And then there's a great episode where, again, I hate when The Walking Dead does this, where Lori dies, but a little bit before Lori, T-Dog dies, which is one of my favorite characters in the show, or from the early seasons. But his death is completely overshadowed by Lori's. Even though we hate Lori, it's a great death scene, and it introduced Judith, and then we introduce the governor, and Merle is coming back, and Andrea's back, and Michonne is introduced. I love all of that stuff. Andrea is just so aggravating that it kind of drags it down a little bit. But season 3, I think, is my favorite season of the show. The governor, one of my favorite villains in the show, introduces Tyrese, another great character. Like, it's so many great characters fighting against a great villain in a great location. The prison, one of the best locations for the show. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to hit like so I know you want to see more videos like it. You can go down and hit subscribe. And if you like The Walking Dead content or horror movie content, you go down to my channel. I'm sure you'll find something else in there that you'll enjoy. And if you do like Walking Dead content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, because I will be posting a lot more. And if you want to be notified when I post them, you're going to want that bell notification. Comment down below some more video ideas. But until next time, this has been Ethan Horror.